it a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Reds Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday night and welcome into DodgerHeads live post-game show presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Scott Geirman. Ho hum, Scott, another massive Dodgers victory. 2 hours almost game time, 4 early runs. Just got to enjoy this one from start to finish.
Just got to watch them, just like you said, ho hum straight through it. Yamamoto, Gem. It was a big, just a deep breath from right after the first inning. It was just a sigh of relief and then just go from there. Man, we know what the Marlins are, and this is exactly who they are. It's unfortunate for them, but great for us. What a team for a lot of players that need to get some swings and just kind of stay in rhythm. What a team to play.
Yeah, it is funny. I should say, hey, for one pitch, the Marlins looked very good. Yoshinobu's first pitch of the game was destroyed by Jazz Chisholm, and then from there, it was all downhill. Muncy with a grand slam in the bottom of the first. This is the Dodgers' 6th win in a row. They have now won 13 of their last 15, Scott. And I know it's the Marlins. Orel Hershiser was absolutely destroying them at the end and saying, hey, this is a team that needs to go play the White Sox. One of those teams could potentially win. And yet, despite who the opponent is, despite the Dodgers being like minus 300 favorites, which is insane, it feels good to just be able to take care of business. Like sometimes I think when you beat a bad opponent, it can be easy to just write it off when it's like, no, the expectation is that you comfortably beat these teams. And when you do comfortably beat them, there's a sense of accomplishment in that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple ways to look at games like this. So of course, to your point, there's checks and balances for when you're playing teams on a lesser talent level, top to bottom, like the Miami Marlins right now. You make the big swings when it matters. You don't waste at bats. You take them seriously because it's a big league game. And when, just like you saw Dave Roberts at the end of the game, you take your stars off the feet and your role players, you get them in there and get them as many at bats as possible, because that's how you keep your bench hot. So textbook stuff on the back end. But it's from the start of the game, or probably from the first few innings, we really got to see how things can go south, and what an elite lineup like the Dodgers, who don't chase, and what an over-aggressive lineup like the Marlins can do when they are like expanding outside of the zone, and allows Yamamoto to really settle in. There's a ton to get into, like a lot of stuff I pulled from Yamamoto start tonight and pulled up the Savant page, and there's a ton, man. It's really remarkable on how multiple different ends of the spectrum these two teams are.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we appreciate everybody joining us live here. We got a long show ahead of us. We're going to break down Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the 8-inning gem that we saw from him. We're going to talk a little bit of Max Muncy, who continues to be absolutely on fire offensively, but also, you're noticing some things, Scott, from him defensively. We're going to get into Gavin Lux hits a home run tonight. This is a guy that I brought up on our Sunday show. Things starting to tick up just a little bit offensively for Gavin Lux. Nothing to overreact to. We'll talk about that. We've got an injury update on Clayton Kershaw and Bobby Miller as well. And then, of course, we'll take some questions at the end. But let's talk just briefly about how this game played out. I mentioned Jazz Chisholm takes Yamamoto's first pitch out for a 400-foot home run to center field. Yamamoto kind of cruises through the rest of that first. The bottom of the first, they're facing a guy in Cabrera who we knew couldn't throw strikes. If it's in the zone, it's nasty, it's hard, it's moving a lot. The problem is he can't throw strikes, and if there's a team that it's a bad time to face them when you don't throw strikes, it's the Dodgers, and he experienced that. Ohtani walks, Freeman gets hit by a pitch on what would have been ball 4, Smith walks, and then Muncy hits a home run to left center field, and he's got 1 out, and it's 4-1 Dodgers. And from there, it was just an absolute roller coaster. Dodgers add 4 more runs in the bottom of the third. Pages with the sacrifice fly. Muncy scores on an error, and then Gavin Lux, the 2-run home run. But the storyline, surprisingly, even though Muncy hits a home run, Lux hits a home run, they score 8 runs. The storyline is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. 8 innings, Scott, 5 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts. This guy is just stringing together gem after gem after gem. And we all saw what happened in Korea. Take that off of his record, and this is the guy that signed the biggest contract that any pitcher has ever signed. You mentioned digging in a little bit to the Savant stuff, Scott. Yeah. What did you see from him maybe on the surface, and then, also as well, what was going on beneath the surface?
So he, if you looked, if you were anywhere on Twitter, you saw that, or we're looking at like counting the strikes there. He started the game out with 19 straight strikes. That's something I've really never seen before.
Yeah,
I think I read that it's something that hasn't happened in Dodgers history, something like that.
crazy.
Uh, so it's, he generated 17 whiffs tonight, mainly working fastball, splitter, 15 curveballs, and every single curveball was generally near the zone. That's a true 12-6 curve. Like that thing has some wicked movement on it. All of his release points were tight. He had 8 hard hit balls, but when you're staying in the zone and around the zone that much, it's very expected. You're getting swings that you want. Stuff's going to happen. And they were probably the Marlins had a little bit of bad luck there. He lowers his season RA to 2.79. And since he gave up the 5 runs in Seoul, his ERA from that span is, I think, 1.76, as I saw.
Crazy.
So looking at his FIP on the year, it's 309. He's doing this himself. Like he is as sustainable. Like I'm seeing people in the chat saying like he's a guy that you're seeing really early on what he can do. And we knew his command was good coming over from, overseas. It's really at a point where once that sample becomes big enough, we're going to know exactly he's going to be a power pitcher. And he's going to be in the zone, near the zone, limiting the damage. And I can deal with solo home runs, but he just makes hitters look super uncomfortable out there. He landed 75% strikes tonight.
Yeah. Here's the
How
stat
often
from
does that happen?
MLB Stats.
Yeah.
19 consecutive strikes to open it, something no Dodgers pitcher has done since pitch tracking data began in 2000. You mentioned it. 70 of his 92 pitches went for strikes. So it was almost 75% of his pitches went for strikes tonight. And that was his sort of the scouting report, right? Like he fills up the zone. And they even mentioned when Chisholm took him deep on the first pitch, Oral kind of said, like, the one downside to being a guy who throws so many strikes is you're going to get guys jumping on a fastball. And I referenced this on Sunday, I believe, but Julio Urias, this was his deal as well. Like when you get a reputation as a guy who's going to be in the zone constantly, then guys are going to be more aggressive. And a lot of times that works in your favor. At some points, when you try and groove a middle fastball on pitch number one, it doesn't necessarily work in your favor. But that's the beauty. Because he threw so many strikes, Scott, he got through 8 innings with just 92 pitches, gave the Dodgers bullpen yet another night off.
Yeah, and it was nice to see them really, first pitch to Jazz, takes it deep. And, from there, I wasn't worried. Like, I wasn't worried that the game is in peril or anything. You look at that and you're like, okay, don't pump one down right down Broadway. My toughest pitch to hit, fastball down the middle. But it was great to see in his second at bat, goes up there and just drops a devastating splitter. And you saw Jazz take a deep breath, like, okay, he learned. He's not just going to go up there and do that. But if you have enough movement, you have enough arm action, release point there, spin rate's good. It's okay. It's okay to go up there. So thinking, yeah, they're going to throw a fastball here. It's all about location, velocity. It's not as easy just to say, yeah, he's throwing a fastball here and you're going to hit it every single time. So it's definitely okay for him to go up there and really work on getting strike one, especially on a team like the Marlins, who even I wrote my game preview for today. They were going to be aggressive. And that's something that, Yoshinobu really would have to look out for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, this is who the Marlins are. They're aggressive, and it's put them in really difficult spots. They don't walk a lot because of that. And I think they're in the second lowest walk rate in the major leagues as a unit. And we really saw tonight what a patient team like the Dodgers did. And I think we can go to the offense. There's a lot to talk about there too, Jeff.
Yeah, let me finish up on Yamamoto.
Yeah,
one thing, and I saw somebody in the chat mention this as well. Lance Brozdowski, who we've had on the show, his Twitter had some interesting stuff on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, sort of debuting a sinker potentially tonight, and kind of some of the metrics on that. So if you want to check him out at Lance Braz, the hope is that he'll be on the show this week to talk a little bit of Yamamoto. But just going back to kind of the post-Korea, since that start in Korea, 4 of his 7 starts, Yamamoto's have been scoreless. He's struck out 45 batters while walking only 7, and he's gone 6 or more innings in his last 4 starts. I mean, that's the dying art. And I kind of referenced it, his ability to go 8 tonight, to go 6+ innings in 4 straight starts. There just aren't a ton of starting pitchers nowadays that can get you that. We talked about the innings that Glasnow has been able to give. And so you kind of see the bullpen, it feels like over the last week or two, improving. It's probably not coincidental, Scott, that Yamamoto's going 6 innings or more in all 4 of those starts, that Glasnow is leading the league in innings pitched. Like, those are the types of things that even if your bullpen isn't supremely talented, like, rest can compensate for a little bit of a gap in talent compared to a great bullpen that's overworked is not going to shine in the way that it was. So I just love that from Yamamoto. The fact that, again, this is now, I believe, 26 innings in his last 4 appearances. So he's averaging almost 6.5, 7 innings per start. It's great stuff from him. And obviously the performance, you mentioned it, 1.7 something. We got a super chat here from Ozzy. Yoshinobu and Glasnow both in the All-Star game. Look, at this point, Scott, there's not going to be much of an argument against those two guys, right?
It's like Zach Wheeler, and then there's a handful of other guys that you. It's
Imanaga.
just been a very odd year. Offense is down, I believe, across the league. I've talked to a couple friends about that, but it just seems like the gap between elite pitchers right now and a lot of injuries wise is getting further and further. So we might see that. We very well may. Imanaga is incredible with the Chicago Cubs. I know there's a lot of people going in chat about that. He's been terrific too.
Yeah.
But he's a big time. It's really, we're getting to the conversation where, Yamamoto can be I don't know if he's a power pitcher, but that fastball's got some oomph to it.
Yeah.
But he's showing exactly what elite command can do. And he's on a run that the Dodgers have a pair of co-aces right there at the 1-2. Andrew Friedman's credit. He acknowledged last year that the starting pitching just was not good enough. And I forgot which account tweeted out, I think it was Dodgers Insider, that the Dodgers didn't have one pitcher going to the 8th inning all of last year. They have 2.
Yeah,
and it's not even mid-May yet. Yamamoto and Glasnow both have done that. And just like you said, they're leading, right at the top of an inning.
I don't know if Yamamoto is. I can look that up. And obviously,
Glasnow might be. I think Glasnow, you said, I think the other day you said he might be up there as well.
Glasnow was number 1 in innings pitched heading into the weekend.
Sure. So if that's the case, Yamamoto's built for that workload. Glasnow, someone who we just continue to monitor it. But if he's on a rhythm and they're going with this 6-man rotation and they're getting everybody proper rest and everybody's looks like they're comfortable in this, which to all accounts they are, keep it rolling. With this elite production, then, I mean, this is a 1-2 that all those problems that trickle down. It's now less. And when you have the offense here, I put this in my notes, how many of the runs they're scoring per game, 5.2 runs per game on this 6-game winning streak. Makes life easy. Makes life easy, chat. What do you think? You think you want to see them just continue to keep scoring runs here? Force pitchers into these spots. Have Edward Carrera come up, who can strike a ton of guys out, but you go up here and you just force them to make one mistake with the bases loaded. One mistake and cause pressure situations for the defense on the other team. And then you get some extra runs, and then it really gets some headaches. And it's not just like you're playing a mid-range team here. You're playing the best of the best. So scoring can happen in bunches, and we're seeing it right now.
Yeah. The Dodgers offense, the number for me is always, if you score 5 runs, then that's enough offensively. This Dodgers team, that number it's going to be 8 most weeks. We talk about Buehler last night, Daniel and I this morning on the show, and we're like, look, the beauty is Buehler struggles a little bit, but he wasn't trailing for long because this offense just puts up runs in bunches. And again, tonight's the perfect example. It wasn't Mookie Betts, it wasn't Freddie Freeman, it wasn't Shohei Ohtani, and it wasn't Will Smith. It was Max Muncy, it was Gavin Lux. Those are the guys that provided the offense. And so it doesn't need those top 4 guys aren't going to have 0 RBIs very many times this season. But on the night when they did, Max Muncy had 4. Gavin Lux had a couple as well. But let's talk about Max Muncy. I love this stat from Dodgers Insider. Max Muncy's slugging percentage has increased by 120 points since Friday. The guy has been on an absolute heater. In his last 3 games, he's 6 for 12 with 4 homers, a double, and 8 RBIs. In just the last 3 games. The slugging percentage is all the way up to 570. 570 for Max Muncy, was sitting around 450, which isn't a terrible number, by the way. But for Max Muncy, it's now up to 570. The batting average is 260. The on base is 370. So 940 OPS. Scott, we started to have this conversation on these shows about Muncy over the last week, where I was like, man, it just feels like he's back. This was before the 3 home run performance. It just felt like he was starting to barrel stuff up. He was starting to feel comfortable, starting to see the ball well. And the guy's on an absolute tear right now. And it was classic Muncy, by the way, because in that first at bat, when he hits the grand slam, Cabrera has walked 2 and hit 1. And it should have been 3 walks. Freddie Freeman, it was ball 4 he got hit by. So a classic Muncy, first pitch, the ball's like 4 inches below the zone. And what's Muncy doing? Swinging right over the top of it. And you're like, I love the aggression, bro, but like he can't throw strikes. And then sure enough, I think it was the next pitch. absolutely lasers one to left center field. So the offensive production from Muncy, the offensive production from Teoscar, all of a sudden, Scott, that top 4 becomes the top 6. And it's like, what the hell are you supposed to do if you're the opposing pitcher?
Yeah, and Edward Cabrera, for his changeup's mid 90s. Like we're not talking like they might as well chart it as I think they said a 2-seamer. That's sure, but everything is like for a pitcher like that, change of speeds is important, and he just doesn't showcase it very well. Dodgers hitters looked super comfortable in there. He's throwing a ton of pitches to the top 3, which is exactly what you want them to do, to trickle down through the rest of the lineup. And Max Muncy, at times you can get blown down in 3 pitches if he just doesn't look comfortable when he goes up there and you see his timing, really work in that box. And you're like, I think from pitch 1, it looked like he had it. He's, sure, he was swinging strike on, first pitch. And then he gets one middle away and just takes it opposite field. So, 102.4 off the bat. Mac, I think I saw on the broadcast they have a sub 200 batting average with bases loaded here. I'm sure that bumps it up to the point where we can feel comfortable about it. But they're doing damage. Like they're not just going up there, and it just all depends. Like,
it's like the Ohtani thing. Like people are critical of how aggressive he was with runners in scoring position and expanding the zone, and like there is some truth to it, Scott. But it's also like you don't want these guys to go up there neutered, where there's no aggression, and you're not swinging at anything. So it's a give and a take, and there's pros and cons. And look, if Max Muncy's going up there 400%, 400 on base percentage, Max Muncy just looking for a walk, he's probably going to draw one. But if he's the guy who sees the bases loaded and says, man, if I can get extra base hit, it's not a 1-run walk. It's a 3-run, 4-run extra base hit. And that's exactly what we see. So it's the double-edged sword of the aggression with runners in scoring position, right? Like the guy can't throw strikes, but yet the aggression is what leads to a grand slam.
And I really, another conversation I've had with friends is it's okay to pass the buck. Like it's okay to go up there and work a count, but you have to know this is the same thing. My critique of Mookie Betts sometimes that, if he doesn't get the pitches and he walks, that's fine. But if he goes up there and works an at bat and he's just not aggressive, just to pass the buck to Ohtani, then I can nitpick somewhere. But conversation for a different thing. That's just me being annoying. But with Max Muncy, he's capable of doing damage, and he's shown that his bat to ball has been, S tier. It's been off the charts, and he can go both ends there. He can work in at bat, he can frustrate a pitcher, and he can pigeonhole them into really throwing him something he wants. But to his credit tonight, he goes up there and gets the same pitch twice in a row, and he just takes it exactly what it is and doesn't go to a spot where he can strike out. And then you get to Teoscar Hernandez up there right after him, who's got a lot of whiff in his game, who you have seen a 2-seamer get run on his hands and get into trouble there. So to his credit, I really appreciate that he went up there with an aggressive approach, that he wasn't going to let himself get into an 0-2 hold, that he swung through that first changeup, that mid-90s change. And he felt good about it. And he felt good enough that he got one middle away and he sat back on it long enough because Max Muncy can catch up to 102. We've seen it before. Yeah. So I'm very happy to the fact that he took it opposite way, and he just had he's in a groove. And I like that he's recognizing that and he's swinging. So it's just one of those guys where they're on such a tear. You let him do what he's doing. He's feeling good. He looks great defensively. We can get into that. Ederico, I see you on there. So what are you seeing from him? Are we ready to talk about his defense, or we're going to stay on his offense?
I see you were mentioning this. Some people in the chat were mentioning it, RBI leaders and where the Dodgers rank. How this for a stat? Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani both tied for 9th in Major League Baseball in RBI. And then you've got Muncy and Will Smith tied for 14th. So, basically there's 17 guys. The Dodgers have 4 of the top 17 in RBIs. Like think about how insane that is.
Teoscar too.
Teoscar, I'm sorry, you're right. It's 5. Yeah. It's Teoscar, Muncy, and Smith. So 5 of the top 17. Like just think about how insane that is for 5 guys from one team. Like they're cannibalizing. If Muncy knocks the guys in, Teoscar doesn't get that chance right behind him, and vice versa. And yet there are so many RBIs to pass around that 5 of these guys are in the top 17 for RBIs. A crazy statistic. We do have a super chat here. So let's get to go ahead.
They've got 4. I think they have 4 of the top. I think 4 of the top 25 hitters in the league against righties right now, and Mookie, Ohtani, Freddie, and Max. So it's just.
Ohtani's first in home runs. Teoscar and Muncy are tied for 6th in home runs, by the way, as well. Crazy. So Grayson says, not to be that guy. I love that you start that. We're all raving over here, and we get a not to be that guy. But should we be worried that it's only home runs for our run recently? Like, How do you feel about this, Scott? Obviously, this is the 3 true outcomes league. It's the 3 true outcomes world. Is there a level of concern that there isn't, the classic small ball, move the guy over, that kind of thing? We did have a sack fly tonight. So shout out to Andy Pages with the sack fly. The Dodgers, they obviously hit a lot of home runs. Like, are you concerned that the Dodgers are so reliant on the home run?
No, because they're walking and they're putting up good at bats, and they have guys who do different things in the lineup. Just like we've talked about this before. I think on another live where they had a huge thing, the bottom of their order. Pages is showing the ability to knock singles. Teoscar can do it at times and go opposite way. Will Smith, same thing. Like there's guys in the lineup that are doing different things. Miguel Rojas has done it as well. So as long I'm not going to even get into the top 4 in the batting order because they all can hit for extra bases. They all can homer. They all can just get on base by way of single walks. If you're talking about your stars and that's all they're doing is hitting home runs, but they're not. Like that's not all that they're doing. So Mookie Betts is getting on base a variety of ways. Freddie Freeman's not only a power home run guy. So I'm not worried about that. I don't really think so. I think the home runs are just a product of good swings. In our like the superstar players, Will Smith's a superstar. So the top 4, like if you're talking about Teoscar and you want to talk about him, I don't care. Like the dude's going to swing and miss 200 plus times and he's going to hit 30 out of the ballpark. And that's just what he is. Max Muncy is going to hit you a bloop double. He's going to just get bat on ball. No, this lineup's going to do a variety of things. This isn't a team that you're only concerned with 3 true outcome ball. This Dodgers team in 2024 is not that team anymore.
Yeah. I would say 2 things. One is I'm concerned if you're relying on the home run, and by relying on the home run, I mean, you're relying on 1 or 2 home run hitters to knock in. Like if we're talking about, again, I just mentioned 1 through 6 are all guys that have power, then you're not necessarily like all of your eggs aren't in one basket. All of your eggs have now been divided to 6 baskets. All 6 of those baskets just happen to be 30 plus home run type players. It's also worth pointing out, if it's not as if the Dodgers are among the leaders in home runs. They're second behind the Orioles with 53, but that's it. They also are second in the league in doubles. They're first in the league in hits. So this is a team that has the most hits, the second most doubles, and the second most home runs. So it's not feast or famine. They are doing both. So yes, if you hit a bunch of home runs, those home runs are going to tend to suck up all the RBIs. And yet at the same time, when they haven't had the home runs, they lead the league in hits. They're second in home runs. They're second in
leading
doubles.
Walks by a wide margin. Like, I mean, wide margin is so many, but they're leading in walks. Like they have another, couple games on deck, but they're leading in walks. And after tonight, absolutely. So
they're 166 walks. That's 12 more than second place, 25 more than third place.
I truly believe that this offense can do a variety of things in so many different ways, and they have the players to do so. It's something that we talked about beforehand. You look at the bottom of I took a screenshot of the bottom 3 or bottom 4 in the order at one point. It was like all sub 200 guys, and it was ridiculous. And then you were just like, what are we doing? And the second you start to see that, like, you need to have different types of hitters in the lineup. And if they're just going up there and providing good bats, I think Miguel Rojas is a great representation of who I would love at the bottom of the order. If Gavin Lux is just going to go up there and hit chopper singles to right field, sweet. I don't care if he hits home runs, just get on base. I'll stop talking about it. If he's going to play elite defense and he just hits choppers to right field for singles and gets on base, perfect. That's it. Just turn the lineup over. And then it's not a discussion anymore. Your top 4, top 5 hitting, then you can withstand guys at the bottom of the order not putting up big power numbers. That slug's not going to be there. Everything gets trickle down. So we're seeing that the guys at the bottom aren't having so much emphasis on coming up in those big spots, having a big swing. And it's just like, Jeff, I was thinking about it during the game, like, what are we talking about tonight on the post game, and what's Chad going to hammer me on? But it's how different it feels now that, Chris Taylor's not forced out there every single day. They have to find at-bats for him because Andy Pages has secured a spot in everyday rotation out there. It's just, it feels they were playing well, but it just feels like a completely different lineup when you see what Mookie can do, Freddie, Ohtani, all together, Will Smith. It feels like a completely different rotation at the bottom of the batting order. And the pressure, just that level, the concern that we had just feels like, take your time, figure it out, guys. Like,
And I was going to say that leads perfectly. And Ozzy says here, Mookie, Ohtani, Muncy, Teoscar could all hit 30 home runs. And as I read this, obviously Freddie Freeman, Will Smith not included here. Not guys that are, necessarily 30 plus home run guys consistently. I'm sure they have it in them, like they could be for sure. But here's my question to you, Scott. You're talking about this. The way Muncy has hit, and Teoscar started well, then slowed down, is hitting well again. The way Muncy's been on a tear. I'm not saying Muncy and Teoscar belong in the same conversation as Mookie and Ohtani, but do we need to extend our conversation from the top 4 to the top 6 now? Like the way Muncy and Teoscar are hitting, I feel like it is safe to say the Dodgers go 1 through 6. Like obviously there are tiers. Mookie and Ohtani, Freddie, Will, like I think there's a drop off a little bit somewhere in there, but I feel like Muncy and Teoscar are catching up as far as the top 6 go. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, I think we knew. I think everybody that's watched. I mean, Max, sure, like as power hitters wise, or just hitters, just consistent guys.
I mean, I'm looking at Max Muncy. I just said he's got a 940 OPS and he's tied for top 10 in home runs.
Since 2019, coming into the year, Max Muncy's had 140 bombs. He's one of the he's one of the best home run hitters, and like he's approaching like Dodgers history. And like
and it's not like
that
point walking too. Like I know that the batting average was bad last year, but typically the on base percentage is very, very good with a high slugging percentage. So that's kind of what I'm saying.
This is who he is. It's great. Like this is exactly who he is. And if he's going to strike out, whatever, but he's going to walk, he's going to frustrate pitchers. And when they make a mistake to try to go in the zone to get ahead or whatever, he's going to punish them. And then hey, Edward Cabrera, you want to throw a mid-90s change up middle way, he's just going to pound it for a grand slam. This is what they do. So I mean, Teoscar is a different type of hitter. I know I said last time we talked about him that, there are just guys up there who hit for RBIs and they just have a keen ability with runners on base to make things happen, or they're going to find a barrel, strike out a ton, hit a home run and go 1 for 4 with a solo or a 2-run shot. And there's their contribution. And those players are valuable. Players directly leading to runs without having to make too many things happen are valuable.
Yeah.
So if you want to say top 6, I think all of the Teoscar Hernandez stands will gladly take that. Yeah. But to where Max Muncy's at and his consistency since he's joined the Dodgers, I'll absolutely say if you want to extend it to the top 5, absolutely, man. Like you're getting consistent production from Max. And I think they've spoke about it a number of times that, in inside pitches there, I forgot the numbers. I wish I had them, but inside pitches, even to what he said himself, is he didn't feel comfortable. The elbow didn't feel like it was in a good enough place for him to get around on him. And now he's on that spot. And to his credit, he's openly said he feels 100% ready to go and all back. And you're seeing it. I know, Jeff, you ready to say it? He's back. Like this is
back, baby. All caps back. I know we want to talk Muncy defense. Let me transition here because I feel like there's a fit to Gavin Lux.
Back.
I mentioned Gavin Lux on our Sunday night show as a guy who over the last couple of weeks has been trending up, I would say. Not that he's arrived, but I think he had like a 2 or 3 week stretch where the weighted runs created plus is over 100. So he's becoming an average to slightly above average hitter over the last 3-ish weeks. We've talked about the defense as being somewhere between, I was willing to say very good. Blake threw out the elite language on Gavin Lux's defense at second base, which you won't hear complaints from me. He hits the home run tonight. He's 8 for his last 29 with 4 walks. Again, this isn't a guy that you're expecting to have a 500 slugging percentage, but to what you were saying earlier, like if he can hit around 270, 280 with an on-base percentage of like 350, even if the slug is like 390, 400, like compared with the defense, I think you're starting to see not like what the ceiling is for Gavin Lux, but you're starting to see a player who could fit and could be a part of what they're trying to accomplish. That's my view. I know you've been sort of more pessimistic about Gavin Lux. I'm not saying 1 home run tonight.
I can explain
anything, but
I can explain
me where you're at on Gavin Lux.
So I can explain all my, stuff about Gavin Lux. So everybody knows my thing is that I'm still annoyed, but it's fine that they had to transition away from their original plan of Mookie Betts playing second base and putting him at shortstop. That's kind of it. That was it for me. And that's just been something that's got them off. But at a point right now where it feels like they're comfortable with it, Mookie Betts is playing great defense at shortstop.
He looks like
Gavin Lux is playing elite. I would say Gavin Lux is playing elite defense at second base. Like he really is. He hasn't made an error all season. 86 percentile in, outs above average. He looks terrific. 95th percentile chase rate. he's getting hosed on a lot of calls up there. Like I tweeted that out the other day, and then just watching it, like everybody knows, like for whatever it is, the umpires have it out against him. But it's going to be a slow crawl for him to get back with the bat, and you're seeing a little bit of it tonight. It does help to the other thing we were talking about, the rest of the offense coming through. It takes that pressure off of it.
For sure.
But in 2021. I think it was 2021 when he was like full-time thing. Yeah. Or 2022, sorry, at the back end there. Yeah, 2022, when he was batting in those 8th, 9th spots, I was his biggest fan turning that lineup over. He became a real weapon. I remember we were talking a ton about it, that Gavin Lux could be someone who, if he's just fine, if he's just average, just gets on base, works a count, and isn't just a black hole or just a pitcher spot at the bottom of the lineup, he's a valuable piece. He's not like a Jackson Chourio type upside. Like that's not who he is. He's just going to be a role player. I don't want him to be a platoon guy, but for where he's at now, if he gets to that slot, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to bat 300, but if he's batting like he did in 2022, 276 for the year, if he's batting just in that range, 260, 280, and somebody said 300 hitter, that's sure, sign me up. Just to your thing. I just want him to have a high on base percentage. I just want him to get on base, work a count. Just don't be an easy out. And then I'll never have a critique about the guy. Yeah. Ever.
And that's the piece for me, is like, you look at that 2022 line and people talk like about how good he was. And you're like, okay, 276, 346 on base, slugging percentage wasn't even 400, 399. But guess what? That all added up to a 114 weighted runs created plus. And my point all along has been like, that doesn't feel unattainable. That doesn't even feel like, that feels like a 75th percentile outcome for a guy like Lux. And if you pair that with the elite defense at second base, if we're willing to use that word to describe it, like now all of a sudden you've got a pretty valuable player for a guy on the contract that he's on, and the way that Mookie's looking at shortstop, etc. So I think it's an interesting piece here. And we'll use that defense to transition back, because we talked about Muncy. And by the way, shout out to the 1,200 people joining us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Love to have you again. The Dodgers win their 6th straight, 13 out of 15 against the Marlins. But Blake mentioned it to me. You mentioned it right before we came on. Max Muncy panned defensively largely for the beginning of the season, and rightfully so. Spring training, rightfully so. You've noticed a change. You've noticed maybe an upward trajectory from him defensively. So talk me through that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's, 75th percentile outs above average. He's moving well. Everybody could see tonight, like those balls charging in. He looks great throwing. His arm looks strong. He just looks confident out there. We've talked a ton about his offseason work coming into the year, using a smaller glove to really feel comfortable and putting his hand in optimal spots to really field it cleanly. And to his credit, he's made an effort defensively to really not be a liability. Because at so many times we've seen balls down the line he should have had. But Matt, I hope he's watching right now, or he's going to watch later. But the eye test is telling me that Max Muncy is a far better defender, and he feels much more comfortable now than he ever has. And I think that this is, I saw, Blake and I were at the Blue Diamond Gala, and Max Muncy looks good. Like anybody wants to make fun of Max Muncy because he's just a big dude. Max Muncy looks great. Like he's moving good. He looks good. That's
boots on the ground reporting right there, Scott. I like to hear that.
Boots on the ground reporting. Yeah. And I saw some people mad at me asking them who was the worst dressed or who could use a little bit of help. Cry. It was funny. Everybody had a fun answer. But
look at Matt, though. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Matt's he's getting a batting average conversation when it comes to Gavin Lux, and then the eye test on Max Muncy defense. It does help that the nerd stats affirm both of those things, but shout out to Matt recovering.
Nerds won't like me tonight because it's just it looks good. He looks comfortable out there. He's putting it all together. Because at some points, a lot of fans, like even when the shift was around, like there were people saying, "Yeah, play him at second base."
Yeah.
Like, are you going to be comfortable playing him at second base, a position you have to move, and then now he's at third base, and you're not going to give him any credit because he looks even better there, like there at a corner spot? Like, he looks great. He's making strong throws there. He doesn't feel like you're taking a dip on defense, and all the nerd stats say that he's playing exactly up where he needs to be. So we're going from an infield defense where people were like, there might be a little bit of a step back to where we're saying, it's pitching's going to get help. You're going to get all those routine plays that need to be made, even the ones that are a little bit tougher. They're going to be made.
Yeah, I think outs above average as a team, the Dodgers are like second in or defensive runs saved. I think the Dodgers are second in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
So, and look, defensive metrics we would all say are not perfect compared to offensive stuff, pitching stuff. Like defense are the numbers that I trust the least. And yet, to think that we're sitting here and Gavin Lux is the primary second baseman, Mookie Betts is the primary shortstop, and Max Muncy is the primary third baseman. Three guys that people had genuine, wide-ranging concerns about, all three of those players, and yet they're fantastic. James Outman, all the batting stuff is real. There are serious concerns. He's really good defensively. Andy Pages, really good defensively. Teoscar, really good defensively. When Hayward comes back, really good defensively. Kike's looked really good defensively wherever he's been playing. We know Freddie, Will Smith throwing some guys out at second base. I mean,
yeah, what in the world?
For a part of the team that was expected to be a liability, good stuff there from the Dodgers. We do have one more super chat here about Muncy. Going back to the offense, John Bleeding Blue, we appreciate the super chat. He said, when Max Muncy is hitting home runs to left field, he is locked in. Muncy's hitting 263. That's a career high tied from back in 2018. So there you go. I agree. It feels like when he's got the opposite field power, in addition to the absolute mammoth shots to the pull side, that feels like when he's able to have power the opposite way. I agree with John here that's locked in Max Muncy. And hey, 263, Scott, that's a better looking number than like a $170 or whatever he hit a year ago.
Yeah. And John, thanks for the super chat. I was looking it up. Like he had looked up his hit spray chart. There's not many hits opposite field. Everything is like 100% pull. Like I would say confidently say he's like a 90% pull guy. But yes, when he has the ability to take that power opposite way, he's tracking the ball well. He's seeing it well. And that matters so much. You've seen some struggling hitters tonight, like CT3 doesn't have that locked in. James Outman at times isn't able to do that. You're seeing a Max Muncy that's truly tracking the ball well. And he's just going up there with an aggressive approach. And he's not letting one thing kind of overwhelm the next. So we're talking about health. Like we're talking about a guy who the power's been there, even when he didn't, because he could just hunt pitches and the power is going to take care of itself. But we're looking at a complete guy. We're looking at somebody who's up there you can confidently say he's going to go give you a complete at bat. And that's something that we've seen Max Muncy do when he burst on the scene with LA 2018, 2019. And he's just been someone who's been ho-hum, one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball, and improved his defense. Thanks, man. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
John, another super chat. We appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, kudos to Max Muncy. The thing I love about Muncy is he's the guy who never gets talked about, like in the conversation. Like it's like the top four. Like everyone loves talking about Will Smith. Everyone knows how I feel about Will Smith. Max Muncy has a higher OPS than Will Smith does right now. He has a higher OPS than Freddie Freeman does right now. I mean, I'm not saying like he belongs in that tier long term. And obviously, I said his slugging percentage has gone up 120 points in the last 3 games. So 4 home runs will do that for you. But
look at us,
and we're talking positive defense. Like we're not even describing Max Muncy as the whatever. He strikes out too much. He's a terrible defender, but he hits home runs. It's like, oh, he's pretty good to above average now as a third baseman defensively. He's hitting for power, but he's also still hitting 260. So the batting average isn't like an eyesore. I'm not saying it's sustainable to this degree, but the 950 OPS is not like an out of nowhere experience for Max Muncy.
Oh, dude slugs. Yeah, I agree. Dude slugs, even if it pulls back just a little bit, the lineup looks ridiculously different when you have the rest of stars actually playing, and you don't have 3 guys with, sub 600 OPSs in there and you slot Andy Pages. The rest takes care of itself. So breaking it down, Jeff's doing his thing.
Muncy needs to slow down because he's already got 9 home runs. He's only ever hit 35, 35, 36, 36. So if we've only got 20, 26 more, Max, maybe save some for the end. All right. Like, unless you're planning on actually getting a number with starts with the 4 this year, let's pace ourselves. We don't want to get to 20 at the All-Star break and only have 10 left to use afterwards. But real quick, but the last thing on Muncy, I know we're at 40 minutes in, we're just glazing over the Dodgers lineup. I love this, but we're talking about Max Muncy, who's been one of the best postseason hitters with the Dodgers for years. We're seeing people forget how valuable this is. It's not just the top guys. And when Mookie and Freddie decide to, wake up in October, Max Muncy is a guy who's been there, done that with the Dodgers for years. He's outlasted the other stars that are gone now.
That hurt me to say.
900 plus OPS.
That hurt me to say
900 plus
that. Like,
OPS in 19, 20, and 22 in the postseason. He had an OPS over 900. So, and 2019, by the way, was 1100 OPS. So the guy,
talk
to
to
your
him,
point,
Jeff.
can hit.
Talk
Can
to
hit.
him, man.
All right. Well, hey, again, for recap, for those just joining us, Dodgers win 8-2. Going through the box score, it's a hilarious one. 8 runs on 5 hits for the Dodgers tonight. You don't see that a ton, but 5 walks will help. I mean, even then, 10 base runners plus a hit by pitch, so 11 base runners, 8 runs. That works. The Dodgers jump out to an early 4-1 lead after Max Muncy hits a 1-out grand slam in the bottom of the first, and from there it was smooth sailing. Again, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 8 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts for him, lowering the season ERA to 2.79, throwing 73 of his 97 pitches for strikes. So incredible stuff from Yamamoto there. And the Dodgers win their 6th straight, 13 out of 15. Noah with the super chat. CT3 should do a Phantom IL rehab like Muncy in 2022. Look, we've been saying something similar. And Jason Hayward is a couple weeks away, but those might be it might be coincidental timing for Chris Taylor's strained lat being right when Jason Hayward comes back. But speaking of some injury, yeah, what's that?
Gotta watch out though. It's not so easy to do this anymore.
They'll find a way.
Papa Manfred, don't tune in tonight.
We did get some injury updates before the game from Dave Roberts, among others, on Bobby Miller and Clayton Kershaw. This is what I had to say about Bobby Miller. He threw a bullpen session Monday. Dave Roberts, quote, velocity was good. He'll throw another one. From everything I've seen, a rehab assignment is coming pretty quickly, which is really encouraging. And when he says a rehab assignment is coming quickly, he has also said it will not be a long rehab assignment. So we're probably talking 2 starts, maybe 3 for Bobby Miller, just because he hasn't been out that long. So you kind of do the math here, Scott. We might be 2 weeks away from Bobby Miller returning to a rotation that's got Glasnow, that's got Yamamoto. Who knows what Buehler looks like in 2 weeks after what we saw from him last night. Obviously, Gavin Stone's been pitching well. James Paxton has got a sub-3 ERA. I mean, all that aside, the Bobby Miller update, velocity being good, encouraging stuff, not an injury they were necessarily concerned about to begin with. Love to hear all of those updates from Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something, especially with high velocity guys you've seen. I know somebody tweeted out the list a bunch of times and just names being crossed off of it. I hope that Bobby Miller, I don't have to hope. It's great that we're seeing Bobby Miller with an injury that they're not deeming anything super concerning. It's good that they're taking a slow pace with him. And it's great that they didn't just immediately shut him down and they're letting him build that up for what the bullpen or where the bullpen's at injury wise, rotations at, guys slowly getting themselves back. It's never a bad problem to have too many arms. So let's let Bobby Miller get in there, and it'll help him as well that they're working on a 6-man. Everybody was clamoring for let's have a designated 6 in there. It's going to be good that Bobby Miller will be one of those pretty soon. Yeah.
And hey, the bullpen's going to be well rested the way Yamamoto and Glasnow are taking the ball through 8 innings.
Bullpen needs to figure out those injuries, man.
Yeah. But I mean, even the guys that are out there, like I did through the Braves series, they allowed like 1 earned run in 20 innings pitched or something in that series.
Getting it done.
Our guy JP Fireisen, another ho hum 1-2-3 inning, huh?
It's a good spot for him. I mean, it doesn't look like he has the elite stuff anymore, but if he's just going to find a role, just be a role player, and who knows, like with time, he's one of those guys. It's been a long time at a shoulder injury. Like it's not easy to come back from that. So Blake Trinan, same exact thing. He's got wicked stuff, but if you ask him, he definitely was like, yeah, it's a frustrating thing. You got to go out there and feel how it is to pitch again. So, and JP, they're just, let's go pitch at the end of games and low leverage, having, was it a couple scoreless outings in a row now?
Yeah.
Something like that, or some pretty solid stuff. So it's just like low leverage. Just allow these guys, everybody's making it easy on each other. So I'm happy about that. It's a good place to be. It's a good time. Especially in early May. May, this is stuff that it's you can hammer these plans out now and really get them to feel all like they're in a comfortable spot.
Yeah. And I joked before Buehler started yesterday. I say, home game against the Marlins, that's about as soft a landing spot. It was Landon Knack, his first 2 starts against the Nationals. I mean, it's like they find these spots for guys to build some confidence, work off some rust, work off some nerves, that kind of thing. Quickly on Clayton Kershaw, 20-pitch bullpen session. Dave Roberts, quote, really encouraging. Austin Barnes, quote, he looked really good. I think he's in a good spot mentally and physically. I loved that Joe Davis on the broadcast. They were talking, and Clayton Kershaw was talking velocity. Joe's like, well, can we ask you what kind of numbers we were seeing? He's like, I don't know yet. It just felt good. It just felt good kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it just, again, all you're hoping for is positive reports on Clayton Kershaw. And by all accounts, hey, by a 6-month mark, he wanted to be throwing. He was. Dave Roberts has said everything has gone according to plan all the way through. So good news on Bobby Miller. Good news on Clayton Kershaw, as the Dodgers have all these starting pitchers that are performing well already. You can't have too many starting pitchers. Who knows? We might be a couple weeks away from the Dodgers putting that theory to the test, Scott. If Miller comes back quickly and Clayton Kershaw 2 or 3 months down the road, Dustin May, who knows? It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and we'll see. And it was good to see Clayton out there. It's really good to see him with the team. Don't know what we're gonna get from him.
Yeah.
So it's good just to the point where they don't have to rush anybody.
Yeah.
They solved their problem. We talked about it earlier. They solved exactly what they needed to do. Give themselves 2 guys at the front end who they can just set and forget, and figure out the rest and get those productive innings somewhere else. Go, you slot in. It's just been, for what Landon Knack has done. It's just been a collection of arms that are filling those innings, and it's not. They're doing it well.
Yeah.
And I know people talking about where's Emmett Sheehan. I wish he was there too, guys. Don't I wish he was there. I was the biggest supporter for Emmett Sheehan coming into the year, but guys like Gavin Stone have pitched themselves into some really good spots, and he's been really terrific this year. So I'm all around happy with the starting rotation. It's been something that last year they didn't have. It was shaky. So we were getting to the point where who's the ace, who's the horse, who's going to give him complete innings. Man, who are these bozos in the chat talking? Just get these guys out of here. They just don't know ball. Some trolls, some Cubs fans, Imanaga, like Yamamoto's overrated. Kick a rock. Like you guys don't know any. You guys don't know ball. Learn ball. Like
back to orthodoxy. We appreciate the super chat. They were asking about the status on Sheehan. We haven't heard anything on Emmett Sheehan. I mean, I was trying to go back and find the last update we have. I guess we had something from a couple weeks ago. Dave Roberts and Emmett Sheehan saying Emmett Sheehan had suffered a setback and was not ready to return anytime soon. Sheehan, quote, "It was never the shoulder. I said my arm. I think I was confused why there was shoulder out there. I didn't think I said that. Maybe I did." So there you go. There's your Emmett Sheehan update. Dave Roberts has no clue what's happening. This is from a couple weeks ago. But both of them agree that the outlook has not been positive.
Yeah.
We did have one more super chat here from John Bleeding Blue. We appreciate all the super chats again. Muncy leading all third basemen in home runs this season in Major League Baseball. I mean, look, we talked about all-stars earlier. Glasnow and Yamamoto feel like they're going to be at least very much in the conversation. Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, you can write those 2 names in permanent marker. They will be there. Max Muncy's third baseman, it's going to be hard to keep him off that list. Will Smith at catcher, going to be hard to keep him off this list. That we're already at 6 guys, Scott, and we haven't mentioned Freddie Freeman, who's probably getting voted in just by the nature of what his name is and probably what his numbers will look like. You start doing the math here, Scott, and we're at 7 Dodgers who are going to be all-stars. I didn't mention Teoscar in that group. He's probably going to have numbers that are in that realm. The Dodgers will be well represented at the All-Star game, I guess is the safe thing to say here.
I would say so. Outside of like Alec Boehm from the Phillies, Max Muncy's right there. After tonight, it might change a bit, but he's pushing for that number 1 spot in OPS among third basemen. So it's getting interesting. We might see the ballot, the All-Star ballot box is pretty stuffed here with Dodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, again, everybody, 1,300 plus people, almost 1,400 people here live on Facebook, on Twitter. We appreciate you. I know we got a bunch of people that are watching or listening after the fact, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, or Google, the DodgerHeads podcast. We appreciate you. We're right here on the Dodger Blue 1958 channel. Thank you to everybody in the chat, providing questions, comments, interacting with one another. We greatly appreciate it. I do want to let everybody know something we've been promoting on the show. We got a new sponsor, a new supporter, So Rare MLB. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. You can find the link in the description of this video or in the description of this podcast. Of course, you can check us out, Dodger Blue 1958, everywhere on social to find it as well. So Rare MLB, collect digital, officially licensed player cards, basically playing fantasy baseball with your own set of cards. Playing guys, creating 7-person lineups, real stats equals real points. And the best part is it's totally free to play. and you're competing for cash prizes. They're giving away over $1 million in cash prizes. They're giving away tickets to games. They're giving away signed memorabilia. There's going to be a contest they were just telling us about this week. They're going to be giving away a VIP experience to the Major League All-Star Game, all expenses paid. So tons of stuff on there. And if you sign up using the Dodger Blue 1958 link, which again is in the description below, if you sign up this week and enter a contest on Friday, their next contest starts Friday through Sunday. Every week it's Monday to Thursday and then Friday to Sunday. If you enter the contest Friday through Sunday of this week, for the first time, you will be entered into a sweepstakes. Only people who sign up using these links will be entered. There's going to be one person that's going to get $100 in free cards. You can buy, sell, trade, sort of upgraded cards if you would like to. And then 3 people are going to get 2 tickets to a Dodgers game of their choice. Okay. So $100 in free cards or 2 free tickets to any Dodger game of your choice if you join So Rare MLB using our link and then enter your first contest before Friday. So you've got to create a team, get the whole thing dialed before Friday. Go ahead and do that. I just checked it out over the last few weeks when they came on. I've got to admit, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's not a ton of work. You set the lineup on Monday, set a new lineup on Friday. You got your 7 to 10 cards. You build cards over time, build lineups. So it's good stuff. Again, check it out. So Rare MLB. We appreciate them coming on as a supporter, joining us, and it's good stuff. So I'm excited
100%.
to get some community contests going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely interesting stuff. Something I'll be interested in myself. Keep you guys posted. You know, we'll see on there, see what we can win, see what cards I can put together, see what teams I can put together, set it, forget it, and just have some fun, man. Some extra stuff, prize picks, doing all the things. And as much joy as we can get, you know, within all extra than just what we're seeing on the field. It's just added stuff, you know?
Yeah. I got to catch Blake. Blake's team beat me the first time we played, just barely by a few places. But, you know, it's Blake. It's a few places, and close doesn't count when it's me versus Blake. So we got to get on top of that. But all right, let's get to some questions, close out the show. We're at the 53-minute mark. We appreciate, again, 1,350 people. Amazing, amazing stuff for a Tuesday night. Thanks to the Dodgers, by the way, and the Marlins for their cooperation for a 2-hour and change game. Daniel was telling me last night how amazing it was to be at the game. 2-hour, 15-minute, 5 home runs, Buehler's debut. And then here we are tonight. It's the 9th inning. I look up and it's like 9:17 p.m. And I'm just like, they crushed the Marlins. Yamamoto goes 8, and this whole game's going to be over by 9:30. Incredible, incredible stuff. So throw some questions in the chat, all caps questions. We will get to some of those. We'll do baseball stuff, of course. And then if you've got some fun off the wall type stuff, we'll get to those at the end. TQT with a Buehler question here. Buehler's metrics mirror his 2022 data, which was encouraging until you remember his 2022 was more solid than good due to the sticky stuff ban. Would you be okay with him being just a 4 ERA type? Here's the one thing I'll say about Buehler, that 2022, if you look at it as a monolith, one number that summarizes the entirety of that season, which he got hurt in June, so it wasn't a full season. The numbers say what they say. If you go back and dig into some of the splits and the minutia and try and figure out when did Walker Buehler actually get hurt, because it's pretty much common knowledge that he pitched at least part of that season injured. There was a stretch where he looked better and a stretch where he looked worse. And so I think the question, even if you want to say it's 2022 Buehler, which remains to be seen, I think there's 2 different versions of Walker Buehler that we saw in 2022. But back to the question here, Scott. A, your thoughts, reactions to the first look we got at Walker Buehler yesterday. And then secondly, the specific question, if Buehler's a 3.9, 4.0 ERA guy, are you okay with that?
First off, I'd like to say that everybody, if you didn't get a chance to watch Walker Buehler's post-game press conference, I really encourage you to do so. Like from a Dodgers fan, from a baseball fan, and you like getting a little bit more in depth for what, you know, how these players analyze their game. He gave one of the most thoughtful answers to his first start back, and I really appreciate it. I know Blake and I have had some conversation about that. It was just really great to see. He talked about how, and I've heard a couple outlets say the same thing, that I expect the stuff to kind of regulate. We shouldn't expect to see 97, 98 regularly. And Jeff, I know you and Daniel talked about this today.
Yeah.
We shouldn't see that. That's a lot of the adrenaline. I know I was I wasn't concerned with this first inning. I was just like, I know his nerves, and you could see it. Buehler even said he tired himself out. You could see him breathe heavy.
You were texting. You said, "Hey, chill out, brother. We got a long way to go here."
Yeah, I was like, chill, please. Like, I wanted him to chill out because it was a lot. Like, you just we care. We give a damn about 21. Like we care about him, man. Like we don't want him to go out and blow it out and air it out because he's just that power guy we've seen on the biggest stage. So we want him to have that slow buildup and really get his feet back under him. So I'd like to see, TQT, I would say over the next 3-4 starts, let's look at what his stuff averages out to be. I've had a lot of conversations that I didn't care about his velocity. I wanted to see his spin data. And when he was at his peak in 2022 wasn't really the best representation of him. Like it was like his fastball was getting hammered. Like it was more of pre-22, like 21. It was terrific stuff. And then all that happened. So let's give him a little bit of a runway there. And we'll see where that stuff's at. But it's his secondary stuff. His cutter was getting whiffs. Like he was going up there and he looked good, like with his secondary thing. So as long as his fastball isn't, kind of his end all be all right now, and he's pitching and they kind of figure out what the best formula is for him, and he can kind of push that stubbornness a little bit to the side. We'll see what his metrics really say and how they can utilize him, because I think his cutter's got a lot more in the tank. His slider looked good. Like he had great arm action. It's just about building up, and they can kind of analyze from there because they've got the best in the game. And I trust in them to really modify whatever they need to.
Yeah. Here's what I was referencing on Buehler real quick. If you go back to that 2022 season, I believe he made something like 10 to 12 starts. His first 6 starts of the season, 5 innings, 2 earned, 5 2/3, 2 earned, 5 innings, 3 earned, 9 innings, no earned, 5 innings, no earned, 7 innings, 1 earned. Then all of a sudden you get to 5 innings, 5 earned, 5 innings, 2 earned, 6 innings, 2 earned, 6 innings, 4 earned, 2 1/3, 5 earned, 4 innings, 3 earned. Like there's a very clear line of demarcation where he goes from being very, very good to very, very bad quickly.
Yeah.
I just think, again, you can play this and say, well, clearly that's where he got hurt right there, right when he started becoming bad, and wipe all the bad off. But my point is just, it's possible. Like it's possible when a guy gets injured that you can look back 4, 5, 6 starts, especially if it's a Walker Buehler or Clayton Kershaw type who wants to die on the mound and will never admit that they were injured. This isn't Max Scherzer who pulls himself out of a game at just the thought of potentially being a little bit nicked up. Buehler's like never going to tell you until after the fact. And so even in that season, I mean, I remember that 9-inning, 3-hit, 10 strikeout game, complete game shutout. We might've done a post-game show. I feel like it was me and Daniel talking like, holy crap, like this is peak vintage Buehler. And that was, April 25th, 2022. And then a month and a half later, you were there?
I was there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then a month and a half later, he's out for 2 years. So which version are we getting? I mean, to answer the question, long-winded way of saying, would you be okay with him being a 4 ERA type? Like I've accepted the fact that he's not going to be the sub-3 guy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say most likely, because I will say, like, and I've mentioned this before, so I apologize if people have heard me say it, but Scott, I finished the Clayton Kershaw book that just came out today, by the way. Andy McCullough, you should go check it out. Everybody, it's fantastic. But they talked about Kershaw. He goes from having elite stuff, like upper to mid 90s fastball with all the other, to all of a sudden the fastball's 92. But Kershaw was just wired different. Like he was just a dude who could pitch his way to success even when he couldn't throw his way. So the thing we're going to find out about Buehler is if he's the same. Like, okay, even if the fastball's down to 94, 95, it's still not 98, 97, 98 where it was. So if it's 94, 95, can he find success by pitching instead of throwing? That's ultimately the question. I have some degree of confidence, A, that the stuff is going to be a little bit better than we think, and B, that he's going to be a little bit better at pitching than we think. So I'm looking, I would, if I had to make a prediction, I think he's going to be in like the 3.5 to 3.7 ERA situation. And I would take that in a heartbeat. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see where like his put away stuff goes. Like we'll see where that's at in facing, more elite lineups, because you can't hide over a long sample there, and like numbers will regulate and your true stuff will come out. So he hasn't been on the mound in quite some time. I know we're sticking on this question for a really long thing, but it's a topic that deserves multiple segments. But it's we'll see over, eye test. Yeah, sure. We'll look at like 5-6 starts, and then we'll see where he's at. But I really want to see what his put away pitch becomes, and if he kind of strays away from that fastball, if it's still getting hammered. So we'll have to kind of gauge where his secondary stuff is at, because he just really needs to work on sequencing with his stuff where it's presently at.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good one. Dog61. Will Teoscar get extended? 4 years, 90 million. Scott, you're the Teoscar guy. You want a 4-year extension?
Oh man, I don't think so. That's a big one. That's a long extension for Teoscar. I don't know if I would sign up. I think you can continue to go find guys like that on the market. Maybe if he wants to stay around for 2 years, sure. If he wants to do that, but I don't know if they're currently. I don't know
He'll
if they're
be
currently doing
32
it.
by the end of this season. So
Ah,
I mean, outfield,
for
I've said, outfield
490,
is
I'm
not the
okay.
strength of the farm, right? Like Pages is there. If you don't believe in Outman, then it's even less of a strength as far as, is Miguel Vargas, like, can he play left field? I mean, these are the questions. Can Outman hit? Can Vargas play left field? And even if the answer to both of those questions is yes, then you have 3 competent major league outfielders, and that's it. So,
Tough
you know,
part is he's having such a good year. He's going to get,
yeah,
I'm not doing it at 20. Yeah. Somebody said not at 20 plus a year. So same thing. I'm not doing it as 20 plus a year.
yeah.
That's
And
just a
that
lot.
number might be that might be for 105, but
Yeah,
if
man.
he
With
hits it,
where
the
he
pace
with
he's
what
hitting.
he's doing, this lineup
Yeah.
will prop anybody else up. So that'll for at that number, no. But if he wants to stick around for shorter deals, then I'm sure they'll be able to do it. But I don't think it'll be for the Dodgers.
That's a great question. Dong wants to know which Dodgers player and which Dodger Blue staff member would you partner with during a zombie apocalypse? Scott, I'll let you go first.
Can I say right off the rip, Blake? I know you're watching, Blake. It wouldn't be you because
Blake himself said in the chat that whoever partners with me would die quickly. And
yes, because he would just say none of this matters. I don't care. I don't want to let. Yeah, he's just like I would just die anyways.
Yep.
I'd probably go D Stark, man.
Yeah. Daniel Starkin is a big dude. Like you don't notice it if you just see the podcast. He's like a legit 6'4". So Daniel's the easy choice. Easy choice. I think as far as staff member. Which Dodgers player are you taking? You Treinen? You going to partner up with Treinen, you think?
There's a lot of hate in that body. There's a lot of hate in that man. It's either Bruzdar or Treinen, 100%.
Dustin May, is carrying. So there's going to be no shortage of ammunition and weapons if you partner up with a guy like Dustin May. Blake's picking Gonsolin. Blake and Gonsolin would be picking flowers outside while the apocalypse happens.
Playing with cats. 100%.
Playing with cats. Yeah, Blake for sure would have taken Gonsolin, and they would have just talked. Like, there's no survival. There's not even an interest in survival.
So when does it end?
Yeah, exactly. So good. Dodgers player. I mean, you said who?
I said, you teed me up for Treinen, but Bruzdar also. He's a unit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably got to be. That's a good one. There's a lot of big guys. The Dodgers have a lot of big guys.
Ohtani might be good.
Yeah, Tawny's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Definitely not Mookie. Mookie and I would be like 2 of me running around.
Just you equaled Mookie. I love that. Let me think on that one. I'll come back to who I want. I mean, like I'm thinking Jason Hayward. He feels like the most physical specimen guy that the Dodgers have. Just like big dude. Him and Starkin, we'd just be intimidating. Just not me, But anyways, Noah wants to know, Scott, does your C rating of the bullpen change? What's funny is I don't know if he's implying that it should be changing up or down. You could convince me of either.
I mean, with their present, like with their production, like it's fine there. But mostly my grade, I did a show with Clint Pasillas, like a month in review over on his channel. We're gonna bring one to Dodger Blue. We have to set that up, but mostly that grade just comes from how shaky it is and how many injuries they're dealing with, and has nothing to do with their production. Because I know that I said it on Dodgers territory, right? Like on opening day, that I believe that they'll figure it out. They always do with their bullpen. They'll find runs of consistency with arms, and they'll find roles for each person. So it'll be fine. But my C rating comes from just health and availability. Because it's difficult when a lot of your high leverage arms, one, they have like one of the oldest bullpens, if not the oldest in the league, and that's troubling in its own.
Yeah.
But also just a run of health isn't there. So I can't give them anything more than that until I see those, the age not be such a factor and health kind of stick, because it's tough. It's difficult because I look around the league and everyone does that. You see, like there's youth there, like youth upside right now in the Dodgers bullpen. It's 2 long guys who, Michael Grove, they just refuse to do his using the 1 inning. Ryan Yarbrough, who's a long reliever, and then just a bunch of old dudes. So it's really hard to gauge. And guys coming back from injury, Treinen, Fireeisen, and Evan Phillips goes down, Joe Kelly goes down. So they've been efficient, they've been productive, they've been getting the job done. But my grade comes from the health and where are we going to find some consistency with their older players?
Yeah, look, the bullpen is like, if you want to put a best case scenario on the bullpen, I could throw you 7 names that you'd feel great about running out there. You'd be like, holy
Yeah.
crap, that's your 6th or 7th best reliever. Like, sign me up. But there's also a version where Alex Vesia is your 2nd best reliever come round 1 of the postseason. And so anything in between is possible there. Noisy Ninja wants to know, anyone kind of concerned that Walker's next start is against the Padres? Scott, you any concern there? I mean, we're going from the
Maybe.
Marlins as a soft landing spot. Padres a little bit less so.
Maybe, yeah.
Adrenaline will be
I mean,
pumping.
they have a couple hitters there. For some reason, the Padres, I mean, not some reason, the Padres treat every game against the Dodgers like whatever. Have any Padres fans watching this that goes anywhere? Yeah, you like the Padres always try to rise to the occasion when playing the Dodgers. I get it. I understand. But they have a couple hitters on that team who can really, hunt fastballs. Tatis, Machado, they have talented guys. It's just not working for them at the moment. So I think that as long as he doesn't live and die by the 4-seam in the zone and, really uses his entire repertoire there, it's going to be a good test. I hope that the game calling, I don't really know who's going to be catching for that. Hopefully it's Will Smith, but if it's Austin Barnes, even better. I hope they kind of
Even better?
protect him,
Did you
that
say
they're
even
not.
better?
Austin Barnes is a great game caller, man. Great
I
game
mean,
caller. Will Smith is very stubborn with fastballs. Like he loves to call fastballs. I've seen him multiple times that he'll just try to pump fastballs down. So I really hope they sequence well. But I'm sure that the Dodgers are really just trying to see how the fastball looks, how his pitches look, not necessarily. I'm not going to say they don't care about results, but it's more of how he's looking start to start. So if it's his next start, it's going to be a tough test. So I love that people in chat are actually acknowledging that that's going to be something where he'll have to temper the adrenaline a little bit. And if it rises up there to Buehler, what he talked about, he'll need to hone that in and make sure he doesn't get overamped and kind of overthrow himself in a bad spots. But he's smart. Yeah, Mr. Classic, I agree. That's the same thing I said. Jeff, we talked about it. Like Buehler's a competitor. He's a smart guy. Like he'll go out there, and I think he'll let that kind of carry himself.
520 career OPS Padres against Walker Buehler in his career. Obviously, those guys have come and gone, but for a lot of those players, guys that he's had some success against, which is good news there. John Bleeding Blue, Glasnow and Yamamoto is a 1-2 punch. How great will it be to have Kershaw and Buehler as the 3-4 punch in the postseason? This is gonna be divisive, John. I'm gonna tell you, there's some people that don't have Kershaw and Walker Buehler in that 3-4 spot. I think Bobby Miller deserves to be somewhere in there, but I guess I don't think there's it's not a 10th percentile scenario where Kershaw and Buehler are in the mix of the 5 to 6 guys who are competing for rotation spots at the back end of that. Obviously, there's a lot of projections of health, but I think there's a version of Buehler, a version of Kershaw that are better than James Paxton, better than Gavin Stone, better than Landon Knack, and therefore kind of in that 4-5 mix outside of Bobby Miller. You agree with that, Scott?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. GI, have they missed the window to trade Cartaya? I haven't been following. I just looked it up. The guy's hitting like $130. So I'm usually hesitant to say yes, but they might have. The value might be low, and they're not going to be trading low on Cartaya. So
he sticks. He stays. Yeah, no, they've locked it up. Like they're not going to say he's fizzling out, but he's so young. Like they're not trading they're not going to sell low on that. It would be very un-Dodgers of them to do that.
Yeah, let's get one more real question here. Dog61, does Tanner Scott miss the flight back to Florida? I joked that you can't convince me there's a single reason that guy was in an 8-2 game in the 8th inning other than because the Marlins wanted to make sure that the Dodgers got an up close and personal look at him. Some troll found me and was like, bro, he hasn't pitched since May 1st. It's not that deep. And sure. 8th inning, 8-2. Tanner Scott. What do you think, Scott? Does he
I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I didn't just pull up his page to be like, yeah, it's because he didn't just pitch since. But I mean, it is a long time. But he came in and blew down the side. I mean, yeah, but who's Blake? If Tanner Scott didn't pitch in the loss, he never pitched. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, but it's been a long time, but certainly against the Dodgers, it's not a bad audition. Like they're showing a willingness to go out there and be aggressive on the trade market. Like he's someone who's struggled, and you want to get him, like I like that. You want to get him within an organization as fast as you can to work on whatever's, going wrong or why he's had such walked guys at such a high clip. But a lot of those problems have kind of been alleviated as of late. He hasn't been walking people very much. So I feel like if there was ever a time for them to trade him, it'd be now because he's kind of built himself back up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good lately. I would pull the trigger. Hopefully he misses the flight. I'll pick you up from the airport, buddy. Or I'll pick,
Yeah.
yeah, if you get to LAX and they just leave without you, I'll be there.
There you go. Yeah, you just change clubhouses midway through. Dodgers
Perfect.
are like, hey, why are you using him tonight? We need him tomorrow. You can't be burning innings today. We like the delay one there. So well, hey folks, it's been fun. Scott, I have one food question for you. This is a great
Maybe.
question that we got asked. Favorite
Yep.
sandwich? Like not place, but just like you're going into a shop. Like what's your go-to? Is it like pastrami? Are you a Reuben
Pastrami.
guy? Are you a
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah.
what's
Sign me up.
Reuben?
Pastrami. Yeah,
Pastrami.
a lot of pickles, deli mustard. Give it to me.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Great stuff. Well, hey, folks, over 1,400 people. So fun to have you with us again. Dodgers continue to cruise. I tweeted it out. They're now on 106 plus win pace for all those people that were ready to burn this thing to the ground when that number was 90 a couple weeks ago. They are well above exceeding expectations, I would say, at this point. 13 of their last 15 have been victories. Yes, it's the Marlins, but 8-2, comfortably demolishing one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. Yamamoto goes 8 innings. Max Muncy hits a home run again. Gavin Lux hits a home run, maybe the start of something. The defense continues to look good. Positive updates on Bobby Miller and Clayton Kershaw. Great stuff all around for Dodgers fans. So we appreciate you being here on the DodgerHeads postgame show. Again, as always, we are here every Tuesday night, every Friday night postgame, Sunday night as well. Scott's with me on Tuesdays, Anthony with me on Fridays, Blake with me on Sundays, Matt when he gets back as well. So great team here. Of course, make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell here. We've got videos that are coming at you every single morning, Monday through Friday, as well as some content on the weekends. Blake's at the stadium getting interviews, so I'm sure some of that stuff will be up. Check out DodgerBlue.com. You can find some of Scott's stuff. And of course, if you're a podcast person, Apple, Spotify, and Google, check that out as well. And So Rare MLB. Don't forget to check out So Rare MLB. Click the link in the description before you go to bed tonight and do that as well. John Bleeding Blue with one more super chat. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Awesome. We appreciate it. We appreciate you all. You make what we get to do fun and enjoyable. The more of you that are here, the more fun it is for us. So enjoy the rest of your night, folks. Dodgers win 6-2. So it's easy to say, go Dodgers.